With presence, we enter the space of listens actively. Competency number 6 on listens actively. And this idea and this space of listens actively, it's really, really important in the whole conversation. The way we listen to the client and how we're listening will impact how we ask questions, how we respond. Coaching is not about questions. A lot of times, many people have this misunderstanding that coaching is all about questions. It's all about powerful questions. It's all about asking the right question. No, questions is about one of the many tools in the coaching process to support the client to evoke awareness. But before that can happen, we have to listen actively. And ICF says this: the definition of listens actively is focuses on what the client is and is not saying to fully understand what is being communicated in the context of the client's systems and to support the client self-expression. So I like this, what it says here, is and is not saying to fully understand of what is being communicated in the context of client systems and to support client self-expression. Now, there are some slight changes, not big changes, but just some slight nuance changes in sub-competency 6.2, where it used to say reflects or summarizes the client, what the client communicated, to what the client is communicating, because you're having the coaching conversation, so it's in this moment. So I like that better accuracy and sharpness about is communicating, because it's still in that moment of conversation. And in 6.5, where it talks about what is being communicated, it's changed to the client is communicating. So helping us to be clear that, hey, it's not in the past, but it's what is happening now in this moment. So communication or listening, it's what's happening in this moment and it's ongoing. And when done well, in fact, in everyday communication or in everyday application, it's about mirroring the language and emotions back and allowing the space of reflection, listening for patterns over time, not just in that moment, and integrating the words, the tone, the body language, the nuances, and sometimes listening to the subtleties in the voice, the shifts in the tone. And one of the lessons that I often teach coaches is what we call intuition or improv coaching, where we are in that moment, doing improv and then listening for the subtle cues that's emerging in that moment. Sometimes a little shift in the tone, in the voice, or maybe in that shift in the body, in the energy, reveals a lot more than just what is spoken. So the spoken language is one thing, but the unspoken language is another thing. Seeing with eyes what we see with the words and experiencing the words through the heart and sensing deeply what's happening in the overall of the body language. When done well, the depth of listening changes, evolves. We go beyond words into meaning, integration, tone, body language, and patterns noticed. Teams reflected across sessions and space created clients feel like, hey, you know what? I'm fully heard. I'm there for you. And they feel that, hey, there's a coach there that's listening for me or listening to me. And for example, a coach can say, hey, I noticed this theme of responsibility has surfaced in our last few sessions. And what do you make of it? So when I notice different patterns, I can review that to the client and inquire that, explore that. Now, when do I ask that? That is the artistry part of coaching. And this is something also for us to consider. Many times coaches have asked me, say, Jedi, can AI listen better than I can because they can remember every single thing the client said? I said, yeah, they could. They can memorize every single thing. They could record everything. But what they can't do is the artistry in that moment. What do I mean by artistry? There's an artistry in listening. It's not just listening. It's about when do I reflect? When do I release? When do I inquire? When do I feedback? When do I express? When do I go deeper? When do I acknowledge that? The when, the artistic part, it's where mastery happens. So people often ask me, Jedi, what's the difference between ACC level and MCC level? I say it's the mastery of time, the mastery of space, the mastery of when to ask. Not just what to ask, but when to ask. Listening, it's not collecting words, it is sensing the story beneath them. And that's what it is. And oftentimes the common struggle is that we stay at the surface level listening, repeating just words without depth. We're just memorizing a formula of listening. or we miss emotional cues, ignoring tones and energy shifts. And so just learning the techniques itself is not enough. We need to have constant practice and feedback, or forgetting continuity and not linking all across the sessions, interrupting flow, prioritizing my own thoughts rather than the client's. Or, for example, when the coach has or the client has repeated several themes or patterns, but the coach overlooks and just moves on. So when listening thiens, the thread of meaning is lost. Listening, to me, it's one of the most important skills in coaching. And it's something that coaches need to practice, conscious practice. In fact, in many of my classes, we spend a lot of time listening because when we spend more time listening rather than thinking of what questions to ask next, the questions emerges. Too often, many coaches get so fixated on what question to ask next. And I often tell them is, hey, if we spend more time listening, your response to the client, whether it is a question, observation, acknowledgement, or feedback or reflection, will emerge. Rest easy, we don't have to worry what questions to ask. When we listen well, a natural response will emerge.